Hey, what's up, everyone? You are listening or watching my comic book journey podcast. I'm your host, KNDY. And let's go back, way back to 1993. And this is Sludge from Ultraverse Malibu Comics. Writer was Steve Gerber, penciler Aaron Lopresti, inker Gary Martin, letterer Patrick Owsley, color designer Paul Mounts, editor Chris Ulm, and interior colorist Violet Hues. Okay, so first, let's talk about Steve Gerber. So Stephen Ross Gerber, man, this guy he's pretty much a legendary comic book writer. In fact, he was inducted into the Will Eisner Comic Book Hall of Fame in 2010, but many people grew up reading his comic books through the 70s, 80s, through the 2000s. 90s and 2000s, but I think people will know his work from The Defenders, Man-Thing, Howard the Duck. Heck, he was the creator of Howard the Duck, and he did the Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Presents Guardians of the Galaxy, Daredevil, to name a few. The guy is talented, very good writer, definitely one of the best from Marvel Comics for his era. And for a lot of people who said, "Oh, you know what? This is that's all good and dandy. The '70s type of stuff. We're dedicated. It was more for the children, more for, it was a different time." Can Steve Gerber do anything a little bit more modern that is a little darker? And sure enough, in 1993, he wrote Sludge, and this is probably one of the coolest characters that came from Ultraverse. And it's really interesting that Sludge, some people say, well, Steve Gerber wrote Man-Thing, but don't you think it's almost similar? And not really. So let me explain here about Sludge. So you have this character that anything he touches, he can melt. He's very strong, and he literally is a walking I don't even know what you want to call it, toxic chemical beast, monster, you name it. And the history of this guy is really interesting, because you're wondering, is he an anti-hero? Is he a hero? What is he exactly? And Sludge, actually, before he became this thing, he was Frank Hogue, and he was an NYPD detective, but he was a corrupt NYPD officer or detective. And he was called in one day to meet with mob bosses, John Paul Marcello and Vittorio Sabatini, and they gave him an ultimatum. Well, they gave him choice to do some dirty work, and that is to murder a fellow dirty cop. But Frank Hogue told them that he'll do anything, doesn't matter, as long as it's not killing. And sure enough, when he tells them that, they pretty much open fire on him, and he gets a few shots on him. But as he tried to run and try to survive, a bomb is thrown at him, explodes, and pretty much he gets thrown off and covered with all these toxic chemicals, and these chemicals and stuff are also sewage from where it's just a combination of toxic chemicals and sewage, and the mobsters pretty much want to dispose of his body and throws them in there. The chemicals, though, they have regenerative properties. They heal Hogue, but the problem is, because it's taken over his whole body, he's become this big old giant sludge. Blue or purplish, behemoth. And he can talk a little bit, but he's, there's just something's off. And, he has anger now, really major anger issues towards anyone that's criminals. And you could just see him fight against these criminals, and they have no chance. They'll shoot him. And what's interesting is when they shoot him, Sludge bleeds red. But he easily heals, and immediately, they show one, he's fighting some really bad gangsters who just did a drive-by, and he pretty much puts his hand on one guy's face, melts his face so he couldn't breathe. Another one, I just remembered that he stepped on his head. There's just so many things that were really dark and violent, and I said, wow, Steve Gerber wrote this. This is really interesting. And for the most part, it's a very interesting first issue, and I felt that Steve Gerber did a wonderful job. Aaron Lopresti is a really good illustrator, and for the most part, everything about Sludge worked well, and it's one of the reasons I feel that he's one of the top characters of the Ultraverse, is because he's unique. He's nothing like Man-Thing or Swamp Thing, totally different. But at the same time, as people kind of wonder, is he good? Is he bad? Obviously, he's good, but it's not. Well, more like an anti-hero, something like Punisher. Wants to get back at the evil criminals, but at the same time, dangerous guy, vigilante. So, if anything, I do feel that the Sludge is definitely an issue that I recommend from Ultraverse. Definitely one of the best storylines out there. The Ultraverse has so many awesome storylines. That's why I love this. When they first came out, again, it's a shame that Marvel had to buy them out, because they pretty much bought them to kill it. It seems, they didn't even have Ultraverse all that long, and no one knows if the characters will ever come back. And I'm just surprised that they never used it, in the future, because these characters could really have done well. I'm not sure what the deal was, though, because I'm not sure if there was a deal in terms of creative control of certain characters created. I'm not really sure about all that. But yeah, this one is an interesting issue. It's a 40-page special, by the way, because it includes a short story featuring Barry Windsor Smith's Rune, and it also features, I think, Shadow Man, I think. I get them confused because I know Valiant had, one of them had Nightman, another one had Shadow Man, and I think, if I recall, let me look here, because I don't want to confuse you all with this, but I think it is Nightman. Okay, so Ultraverse had Nightman, and Valiant, I believe, had Shadow Man, right? I forgot. That's what happens when you have to when you think back from the things you read back in the 90s. So much time has passed, but I had a blast reading this issue again, and look forward to reading even more. It's been a while, so kind of definitely want to chronicle my journey of reading Sludge. Again, there's not that many issues with Ultraverse. A lot of them had close to a 12-issue run when it came to the Malibu Comics releases. And then there was extra issues, of course, when they were with Marvel. But I think there were not that many Sludge issues. I think maybe 12, possibly. And I think that's it. Maybe there was a special issue, too. Wasn't there, like a Christmas special? I forgot. It's been a while. But for the most part, definitely check it out. Sludge is also in the, part of that Ultraverse. So you can check that out on YouTube. Ultraverse animated series. And he was featured in there, so definitely give that one a try. Okay, everyone, you take care, and I will see you later. Wink, wink, and see you later, everyone.